Now, the Israeli army says its naval forces have killed a group of divers from Hamas who tried to infiltrate Israeli territory in a seaborne attack. The army is still searching areas in the south for any fighters who managed to reach Israel. Let's get more on this from Sarah Harrod, who's live for us in occupied East Jerusalem. And Sarah, tell us what you've been hearing about this.
Well, Nick, the military has confirmed that they said at least 10 of those fighters, Hamas fighters that were trying to infiltrate those southern towns had been killed. They said that they'd been spotted coming out of a tunnel from Gaza and that they had attempted to infiltrate through the shores of the Mediterranean Sea. So effectively coming out of a tunnel, getting across the water and into those southern towns. They said they managed to stop that infiltration, and they said that that particular operation involved not just their soldiers, but also the Navy as well as the Air Force, and that they had attacked and killed those fighters as well as the tunnel they said that they destroyed. And they also said that they destroyed a Hamas infrastructure, which included weapons. And we definitely did get a confirmation also from Hamas confirming this. They said that the fighters that had gone across were part of their military wing, which is known as Qassam Brigade. Now, the other thing is that a lot of the residents had to seek shelter in those southern towns. So reminiscent again of every time any rockets go past, the Israelis have those shelters that they can go to during these times. Of course, sirens also went off in about 3 of those southern border towns. But what's interesting is that there have been no infiltrations. We've already spoken to the Israeli military, and they confirmed with us that the last infiltration was on October the 12th, which is about 6 days after the October 7th Hamas attack. That had been ongoing at the time for several days, and it had showed that the military was really up against it, where they weren't able to control the number of infiltrations with tunnels popping up that they didn't know existed in the first place. That had stopped. So for this to happen again, it shows that Hamas is really putting up a fight, if you like, against what's going on, of course, especially in terms of the war on Gaza. But also, we have seen rockets that have been intercepted in the last few days by Israel, but a lot fewer, a lot less rockets, a lot less infiltrations from when this all started on October the 7th. So it kind of makes you wonder whether Hamas is waiting for more time, or whether they're having, their stockpile is reducing, but definitely a new turn of events here with infiltrations. Again, the military said that it managed to stop it before any attacks were carried out.
All right, Sarah, thanks for that. Sarah Harrod there in occupied East Jerusalem. Let's take this on. We can speak now to the former U.S. Assistant Secretary of Defense, Lawrence Korb, joins us from Washington, D.C. So, Lawrence, what do you make of this? Divers trying to infiltrate from the sea?
Well, I think it shows that Hamas has a lot more capabilities than we thought. Also, I think it's another way for them to accomplish their objectives, because a lot of their ground forces, if you will, have been decimated by the Israeli airstrikes that have been getting more and more intense every day since October 7th.
It demonstrates the level of planning that went into this. I mean, not just for the events of October the 7th itself, but the ongoing attacks after the event.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, Iran got them ready to go. There's no evidence that Iran told them to attack when they did. But Iran has been getting them for a long period of time to get ready to do this. And this was one of the things that nobody ever really thought much about, was, swimming, to penetrate. So, right. Yeah, I do think it does show how clever they are.
Does it suggest Hamas might have further seaborne capability?
Well, I think it might show that they've made some arrangements to get some of these divers to get involved, or, to hook up, if you will, with some small boats or something that they could then use to cause problems, from the sea.
What do you make of the Hamas capability as we speak overall, as we wait for this potential ground invasion? Because as our correspondent was just reporting, rockets are still coming out of Gaza, but there's significantly less than there were, and it could be that the stockpile is reducing or they're just keeping their powder dry.
Well, I think basically their capabilities are beginning to get reduced because, we're talking about beginning on the 7th of October. I don't know if they planned on this going so long or they thought the Israelis would respond. But it seems to me there was only so much that they could stockpile that will enable them to keep fighting at the pace Israel is, because Israel not only has a top-class military, but they're getting a lot of military aid from the United States.
And what about the potential for a ground invasion? It seems to be on hold at the moment. It could yet happen, but it's going to be a difficult procedure, isn't it, with 500 kilometers of tunnels underneath Gaza?
No doubt about it. In fact, when President Biden made his visit, I think he cautioned them to say, what do you hope to accomplish? How long is it going to take? What will you do if, in fact, you can get rid of Hamas? And he tried to explain to them, what happened when we went into Iraq and Afghanistan. It looked very good initially, but eventually, it wore down our forces. So I think he's cautioned them. And the United States and, most of the countries in the world hope that this thing can be settled peacefully, maybe with Qatar, for example, playing an intermediate role as they did in releasing the hostages.
All right, Lawrence, appreciate that. It's Lawrence Korb, former U.S. Assistant Secretary of Defense. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.